What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. What's up, everybody? Got a new toy. Papa's got a brand new toy. Good to see you. It's Monday. It's You'll Hear It Live. Thank you so much for being here on the You'll Hear It YouTube channel. Thank you guys for making the switch over. We've got a bunch of new subscribers. If you're not subscribed, take this opportunity to, or you can kind of check out and see how you like this. Sample us out, as we would say. I'm one half of the You'll Hear It team. Adam Manis, my partner, is not with us. Well, he said he might show up in the chat. You never know. He had some... Caleb, am I allowed to talk about his medical condition? He had some teeth pulled this morning. I guess that's... Is that okay? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a medical condition. He had some teeth pulled. So we're sending a lot of healing, good feelings, and love to Adam. For a speedy recovery. But we thought it would be fun today to do a little bit of an abbreviated version. Well, we'll see how this goes. If it goes good, we'll keep going. But at the Vintage Vibe, show them some of the angles here so they can see what's up, Caleb. Look at that. Look at this beautiful case, the skin, the lid to the Vintage Vibe. This is a Vintage Vibe Deluxe, and it's super exciting because we've got it all mittied up already. What do you know about that? And what do you know about this? So I'm going to be able to really answer some questions for you guys in detail. Do we have another angle, Caleb? There we go. Look at that. Okay, this is going to be left-hand voicing. So if you have specific left-hand voicings, or if you have any questions about my wedding ring, this is going to be the cam. We're going to call this left-hand cam. Okay, Caleb?
Sounds good.
Although my right hand gets in there too, and this is the front on. Anyway, we're having some fun. I love this instrument. And I'm not going to do one of those YouTube, full disclosure, thanks to Vintage Vibe for sending this over. Thanks for them sending it over after we sent them a big fat check to purchase one. This was not a comped item, but I don't care because we like it so much. It took a while, too. I can't give you a long-term review because we've only had it for 2 weeks, but so far I'm loving it. I've actually played these on the road on gigs, at friends' house. Christian McBride has one. I've been kind of interested in one for a while, so we're super excited we got it. This is the Deluxe stage model. You can't really see the bottom, but it doesn't have the speaker down here, and yeah, it's cool. So happy to answer any questions about this, although I'm not an expert on the Vintage Vibe because, as I said, we've only had it for 2 weeks. But if you got music questions, I'm prepared to give you some demo, to show you what's happening. Scales, whatever you want. I'm here to serve you. If you're, I like that. Wait, show that again. That was cool. Oh, that's the real. That's Doppio, but it's a good Doppio, right? But do we still have this too? Yeah. So I can demo stuff, piano. Oh man, I'm never gonna leave here. I'm never gonna leave here, you know what I'm saying? All right, so let's see what we got so far. Question from Greg. Peter, I assume that performing no longer makes, let me put this up here so I can read this. So I can read it, you know what I'm saying? And so you can hear me. I assume that performing no longer makes you anxious, but it does for me. Do you have a pre-performance routine that might be helpful? Yes. So actually, I think having a pre-performance routine is a great way to reduce anxiety, to focus in on what you're about to do. And, you know, mine is a little bit maybe unusual, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it exactly. I'll tell you about it, but I think the important part about it is to have a routine. Because what happens is, like, if we're going into something difficult, or perhaps something that would cause anxiety, or something that has the perception of causing anxiety, and that's what usually performance anxiety is about. It's more about like the fear of what's going to happen, thinking about it, the dread beforehand. I think for a lot of folks, once you actually get into the performance, if you can kind of settle in after the first few seconds, few minutes, whatever that initial period, and get to the part that's fun and really engage with the music, a lot of times it's like, oh wow, this isn't so bad, but it's that, and is not as anxiety riddled as the earlier time is before. So that's where I think like kind of having a routine can come in handy, because it gives you something to do. It gives you something to hold on to. It gives your mind something to focus on. It gives you a set of things to go about doing, as opposed to just worrying about, oh my God, what's going to happen with this performance. Now, that being said, preparation is the most important thing, I think, to reduce anxiety for any performance situation. Because the better prepared you are, the more confidence you're going to have, all the obvious things. No guarantee of success, but more of a, you know, confidence going into it, so maybe less anxiety. But having said that, I don't know that anybody ever feels 100% prepared, especially in a jazz situation where there's improvisation, where there's people on stage that you're playing with that you don't know exactly what they're going to play, when there's the unpredictability level is kind of high, right? But I like to look at it like this. Okay, the unpredictability level is high, but let's turn that around. That means that the freedom level is kind of high as well. So that means because I'm kind of free to be in the moment as much as I can be and just be creative and create something, I'm not restricted to having to play this a certain way. Yes, there's a form. Yes, there's chord changes. There's a key. There's a groove in these things. But as long as I'm kind of within the parameters of what has to happen there, I can kind of do whatever I want, depending on the situation. But jazz and improvisational music having more leeway when it comes to that, compared to something obvious like classical music, where it's, you know, the notes are prescribed already, and kind of how it's going to go down. You have to follow the script. So when you're scriptless, there can be a lot more anxiety beforehand, but once you get into it, it should be less anxiety, because you can kind of stop, you can play, you can listen. If you're not feeling super confident, you can play less. You know, like, you have freedom, and freedom should alleviate a lot of that anxiety, but you have to get to that point. So in terms of like before gig, what I usually do is I'll have something to eat, which is a little bit unusual. Some people are like, I can't eat. I won't eat right before the gig, but I always make sure I'm not going into the gig like hungry, because then it's hard for me to focus. I'm thinking about, I'm hungry, my energy is a little bit weird, but I don't want to eat right beforehand. So that might be like up to, let's say, an hour before. And then around an hour, 45 minutes before, I do a little bit of, you know, visualization and kind of mapping out in my head how I see things playing out for the gig. And that could be as simple as like, you know, this is what the set list is going to be if it's something I'm in control, or if I don't know what the set list and I'm playing with someone that they're going to be calling it as we go, some of those possibilities of what's going to happen. Because at that point, an hour, 45 minutes before the gig, you still have time to maybe do a little bit of preparation. So you start thinking about, okay, what am I going to be called on to do in the gig? I prepared, I practiced, you know, but what am I going to be called on? You might want to quick review some charts, or kind of look over something, or listen to something just to get it back in your ear that you might have forgotten. So I'll kind of go through that sort of last minute prep. That should be small though. You can't be like, preparing for the entire gig 45 minutes before the gig. That's going to be difficult. That's going to raise your anxiety. But go through that. And then I'll typically go, especially if it's like a solo piano gig, I'll kind of like just relax up until about 5 to 10 minutes before the performance. And then depending on the situation, even if it's playing with other people, I'll try to steal a couple of minutes to do a quick meditation. And this is very brief for me. It's maybe like 3 minutes, even 2 minutes, certainly no more than 5 minutes, where I'll just close my eyes, breathe, center, and not think about the gig. That's why I do that kind of earlier. I'll kind of think through how I visualize and think things are going to go. But in the meditation, it's just really like, getting sort of in touch with my body, thinking about, how my hands feel, really trying to, my feet, thinking about, the touch points I'm going to have with the piano, but not thinking about what is it going to sound like. Nothing about music, just really about breathing, closing my eyes, emptying my thoughts, just, concentrating on my breath. And just for a couple of minutes, just to like, almost like a refresher, almost like you're jumping into some cold water, and then it's go time. That doesn't have to be right before I walk on stage. That could be 20 minutes before, it could be 5 minutes before. The closer to the gig, the better. But then I'm ready to go. Then I'm kind of like trying to engage if there's anybody else there. Like if we're playing as a band, I'm like, smiling and talking, having a good time, joking, super relaxed. That's for me, that really works well for that routine. And then play and see what happens. So I do have a routine. Now, sometimes I can't do that. It's not a big deal to me at this point if I don't. That's kind of ideal situations with that sort of hour before the gig. But if not, I go into it as a professional and just say, I don't need the perfect kind of situation. But as I said at the beginning, I think the important thing is to develop a routine. You can ask other performers, you can read about this. There's definitely no right or wrong answer to this, except I would say having some type of routine, especially when you are experiencing a fair amount of anxiety, can really be helpful. So that could be doing push-ups. It could be doing meditation. It could be making a phone call to your mom or dad, or to a loved one, whatever. It could be just, I don't know. It really can be anything. It's just you want to have it to be the same each time and to have kind of have a flow and a thing for you to do without having to think about it too much. All right. Let's see. All right, Hope42G. My question, how to stop sounding so fourth to tonic during solo blues? In other words, what are some tips for being able to leave the 4-to-1 cadence or spice it up a bit? Let's say from B flat to F. Okay, so we're at the 1, the 4, right? I mean the 1, the F. And you want to go from 4 to 1, so we're at the 4. So I don't see that as a big place that you need to spice things up. One thing you can think about is the connection melodically. If we're playing over the F, the B flat, the 4, and kind of playing around with that where we're like Lydian dominant, right? But before we go back to the 1, we're already going back to that F blues scale, right? So that's a way to kind of connect things, to overlap over the bar lines. You can do. That's a real kind of Oscar Peterson thing. So you're at 4 for 1 bar, and then 1 bar B diminished. I played more than 1 bar because it was fun. And then F over C. A over C sharp, then to the 6, right? So we got B flat 7, B flat diminished, F over C, A over C, D over C, D over F, D over D, D over F sharp, and then G, and then whatever you want. Something else for 4-1. Well, let me just play and see what I come up with. So there's one you can do: B flat 7 to E flat sus to E flat 13, and then to the 1. Right? So that's the 5th bar, the 6th bar, E flat 7, E flat sus especially, and then you can even throw in like an A flat F sharp if you want. So a couple little ideas going from 4-1. You can also just go from 4-1. It's all good. As a member and pianist, I get access to bass courses, but do you recommend to take that course to develop a good left-hand bass, or do you have a plan to make a course on that? Well, I have some lessons in the jazz piano method specifically on bass lines, so you can check those out. Adam may have on some of his courses. I can't think of anything right now. But if you check out Christian McBride's first course, Fundamentals of Jazz Bass, there's some really good stuff for pianos. Well, he does some of it at the piano. And then I'm playing with him because he asked me to accompany on some stuff, so there's some stuff kind of for duo. But I would absolutely recommend transcribing, the Ron Carter course, like going through that and just learning those bass lines. It's so valuable. I mean, I did a lot of that stuff by ear when I was coming up. Percy Heath, Ron Carter for sure, like learning bass lines, because I wanted to be able to hear in that register in general and to be able to write for the bass, but also to hear in that register on the piano. And I also wanted to learn how to walk bass lines. And there wasn't a lot of stuff I'd heard solo piano necessarily that was like strictly walking bass lines. So I did it for like stylistic stuff, but also for ear training, and just because I wanted to be able to, as much for like independence of the hands. So it's almost like rhythmic ear training. And then for 3-zone stuff, which bass course? The Vintage Vibes. Yeah, the Vintage Vibe is really nice on the bass. That's Fundamentals of Jazz Bass is what I was talking about, but also Ron Carter's course for sure. Cool. Please do more lessons courses on the electric funk jazz styles of Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea. Absolutely, I will. I mean, it's always something I feel like I'm not, well, I mean, I'm up on it for sure. I was thinking about doing some stuff that sort of groove and electric piano would be the kind of connecting point, you know what I mean? So it could cover some different grooves, but it would all be stuff that would be like on the roads, that kind of thing. So look out for that. What are some ideas on ways to practice the diminished scale to get the most out of that sound? Maybe some interesting shapes within the scale. Yeah, so diminished scale. Maybe we'll go, show them that's the left-hand cam, Caleb, please. I'll turn those off. Okay, so before we talk about specific shapes, a lot of times at the piano, we think, okay, well, we know them all. There's only 3 of them, because then when you get to here, of course, you're repeating every minor third. But in terms of like being able to execute these, this is just the beginning. That's definitely in the range of like where you want to be able to get in terms of your technique. But then I think, at least with the right hand, if not both hands, through at least through those 3 until they start to repeat. And then this is kind of where your shapes start, although they do start with the thirds too. But right, all based upon that diminished, and then I haven't practiced that in a while, but one thing about that one is, and I do this a little bit jankety, but it's just kind of the way I've always done it. The fingerings for that, like I go straight. Dang, I see my hands all over the place. No, it was okay. It was okay. Like I'm using probably more thumbs than I should as I move up. It should probably be something like that, but it's just something that I learned probably incorrectly. But I think that's good because you can minimize, too much wrist movements. And then like some more, but that's the foundation of a lot of like that you can do with the diminished. But some more advanced shapes I think that are interesting are kind of, so if we look at, let's see if we do this. So we got C, and then, wherever you're starting, and I'm looking at these as half whole diminished. So you got your octave, and then the shape is based upon this major 7th with the diminished triad. Right? Because what happens is then you can go, and you can also turn this one, instead of diatonically, you can go chromatically. Okay, so just think about it as a major 7th, and you can get that shape on the outside, and then you got a diminished triad. So 2 minor thirds. And these, like, to be able to hear these is important because you want to go right? So it's like C7 altered. That's going chromatically. That's going in the diminished cycle. Same shape though. And then you think about all the different ways you can play this, internalize it, practice it. It's all the same shape. All right. Let's see. Let me jump back because I always end up answering the ones that are like right at the end. Oh, a bunch of people on here. What's up, everybody? Man, it's Monday. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that means. I'm still getting pushback on my rant video, just to let you guys know. But I got so many comments I can't even keep up with it, so that's probably good. What's up, Rich? In Vegas. Greg's hanging in Cambridge, Mass. I wouldn't mind being in Cambridge, Mass right now. Two of my kids are up in Cambridge, Mass right now. Okay, let me see. I have many running questions. Oh, my running coach, Coach Ian, is on here. Okay, look, just real quick, you guys. I got a bunch of people asking me about running, the run streak and all that, which is great. And I recommend my running coach. This is a shameless plug for him. I'm just because I'm reminded because I'm here. But he has really changed my whole running, I can't say career, but my running lifestyle. And it's a big part of my daily routine, and it has been for like 477 days, really beyond that, but since the running streak. But I've recommended him to a bunch of people, and almost nobody takes me up on that because I think that they're scared either that it's going to be too expensive or that it's going to be that they're not good enough. The whole thing about getting a coach is just like with playing the piano. It's just like with playing music. It's just like with going to the gym if you want to get buff, if you want to get healthy, learning about different proper diets and good dietary things. But especially for like learning to play piano, you get a coach because you aren't professional. Even when you're professional, you need a coach. I'm thinking about getting a classical piano teacher because I've been getting back into practicing classical music, and I've had great teachers, and I have great ideas and training in that, and I can do it, at least good enough for what I need to do now. But I want to get better. I want new ideas. I want new inspiration. So I'm going to get a teacher. I'm going to get a coach in that. You know what I mean? Because there's only so much you can get from, whatever, YouTube, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I highly recommend getting a running coach. It doesn't have to be mine. I can put you in touch if you want. But, I mean, getting someone, because they're going to save, first of all, they're going to keep you from getting injured. Knock on wood, I have not been injured. It's just like with practicing the piano. I really believe, sometimes you're going to have an accident. Look, you might come to the piano and we got all these lights in here and camera. Something can fall on you and can hurt you. Even if you have proper piano technique, you take breaks every hour, you keep a supple wrist, all the different things that we talk about for effective practicing and also for injury prevention. I've practiced this piano for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours. I don't know, a lot in my life. And I haven't had those kind of injuries. I've had soreness before, but I back off those kinds of things. So that's the same type of thing with the running coach. It's going to keep you from getting injured. It's going to keep it fun. It's going to be able to, I'm hitting PRs in my 50s. So I'm not trying to brag. I'm just telling you what's happening, Okay. Let me go back here. Boom, boom. Tooth Fairy tonight. Exactly. Adam, I should probably go back there. What's up, Zach? I'm out in Oakland, so I went by Yoshis, but my stepdad told me it's not the original. I played at the original, which was on the original Yoshis. Now it's in Jack London Square in downtown, the waterfront Oakland area. It used to be right at the edge of Oakland and I want to say, was it Emeryville? Oakland? No, Berkeley. It was like right at the border. It might have even been in Berkeley, and I can almost remember the name of the road it was on. And I did play there. The first time I went out there in 93, 94 or something. Played there a couple times. It's great. It's got a nice sound in the lower register. Yeah, these, and it's like I can play around, of course, with the bass. Like that's with the bass boosted up a lot. I've kind of got a little bit above 12 o'clock, the treble. It's like an old radio where you treble and bass, The tremolo. Intensity's kind of. Getting a little high. It's kind of fun, All right, cool. Okay, we talked about getting anxious. Here we go from Chris. I have a question. Any advice, suggestions for when you have many, many bars of the same chord, like in a funk tune or even a swing tune? How to keep it from getting stagnant? Okay, so this is something that used to scare me a lot because it's like, how am I going to tell an interesting story, play a good solo if I don't have anywhere to go? Just sitting on G, right? So we can go. We can use different harmonic areas to go to, but I always look at that as cheating because before we go there, like when we go there, we're basically saying, okay, we're just going to make up our own changes. And that's fine. And there's actually a cool way to do that. I think, and I do that. But let's look at the other elements that we have. So we got 3, 4. So I'm just playing around with like blues scale stuff, right? Well, I'm adding that a little bit. Like syncopation, rhythm, certainly melody development is kind of becomes like our main. So so developing our story by repeating certain rhythms to develop the melody, as opposed to using like chord changes that we're navigating through. You know what I mean? So little details become important, like 3, 4. So I'm just boom, 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 right? But you've got like 3, 4, so I'm like syncopating from behind. I'm going on the and of the 16th note right when I come in. 3, 4. But then on the 3, I resolve it on the downbeat, right? Triplets. You know, double time kind of stuff. So all the other elements besides, you know, using some shifting harmony to inform where you're going to go melodically become even more important. But I think it can be fun. It's kind of like, at first it's like terrifying. It's like, oh, how am I going to develop things? Then it's like, oh, this is great. I don't even have to worry about the changes. I can focus in on the rhythm. I can focus in on the melody. The harmony is set. You know, I can really simplify and isolate the tools that I have available. So, you know, how you build up and the architecture of the solo probably becomes a little bit more important. Yeah, that's kind of it. See if I can get this other keyboard back up. Oh yeah, here we go. Boom, we got that too. Okay, I got it together, Caleb. Okay. So there's that one. Not an expert in 2 weeks, just give it 3. Exactly, minimum. Boom, 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 boom. Thanks, Dr. Spooky. Is that a Halloween nomiker? For the jazz blues tune, for example, Blue Monk, it's hard to have different ideas and variations after 2 or 3 chords. To me, it's even harder than Autumn Leaves. Again, don't think, I think it's partly a mindset thing. Don't think about the blues as harder because it's only 3 chords to develop a solo. You turn that around on its head and look at that as an advantage. I only have to worry about 3 chords, so I can really focus in on the elements that will work to play an effective solo. But then you have to do that. So let's look at the melody, because that'll give us a lot of clues. So melody, super simple, but what's the kind of hook to it? The thirds, right? The diatonic thirds, but then throw in that minor third. Same thing up to the 4th. So what does that mean for our solo? Just that one concept. What can we do with it? And then when you're doing it, if you change it from thirds to seconds, it has a real dramatic flair, right? And then you go back to the thirds. To minor thirds. Now that's 6, but that's just the same as thirds turned upside down. Now you're like 2 choruses in, and you know, you've built up some drama with that. So when you leave those thirds, it's almost like you set the table for the middle part of your solo. Then, like another section, it's like the architecture. You walk through a couple like hallways into this, and then boom, you're in a room. And then you can pull out that, oops, this doesn't go as low as that piano. Then you can pull out those thirds again. Fourths, that kind of changes it up from the thirds. So you got a lot of things over a blues, even though you don't have a lot of chords. You just have to lean into those other elements that you have. And the melody is always a great place, not just to quote, although it's great for that, to give you some structure, to your solo, but also just like, what is it about the melody that it's already kind of giving you something, right? I mean, there's the obvious things too, like doo-ba-doo-da. Oh, this is the first theme, right? Doo-ba-doo-ba. And then you play the same theme up a fourth, boo-boo-boo-ba, and then you got the answer a little bit longer. But you can also do that on your solo. So that's one theme played, then played again up a fourth, and then a longer theme that answers, taken directly from the melody. All right, cool. Okay, fourth to solo, yeah. Boom. Question: I play neo soul R&B vocalist for a neo soul R&B. Most of the music has fairly repetitive chord progressions, but I take solos fairly often. How would you approach a 2 to 4 chord form to make it interesting? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same thing like what we're talking about, right? Like take what the tune gives you. Don't worry about what you don't have. I'm trying to think. This is a tune I've played a lot over the years. D flat major, F minor, and then it's got this kind of. So it's got a little bit of changes, but it's basically, just the D flat major and then to the F minor. So we want to look at like, what's the difference there? What does it have in common and what's the difference? Because it's very close. D flat major. Especially when we throw in that sharp 11. And then F minor. It's almost exactly the same. But if we go Dorian, that's our big difference, right? Throwing the 5. And then little things. Just to throw in, you're not really changing the chords, but we're going D flat major to D flat 7, throwing a little bit of 5 to the F minor. So this is, if you guys are, be patient, be patient. Better Days, Diane Reese. All right, cool. Thanks for the great questions, guys. Let's take a few more. My question is, how did Johnny Green write Body and Soul? Not the analysis. There's a ton of that. But if anyone has a book recommendation on a link, Hand it over. Hand it over. I like that. Steve's getting dogmatic. Give it to me. I have no idea. That's a great tune. You know, I was talking about, I can't remember if I talked about one of the videos or just around here with Adam, but I mean, I'm starting to like, as I get older, get a little more, I mean, I feel like I've always been honest, but some of these standards are not great. You know, I just usually just didn't play standards that I didn't think were great. But some of the standards, why are we still playing them? We don't have to play them. There's too many great tunes, and there's too many like contemporary pop tunes, if you will, that really lend themselves to an improvisational situation. You know, we try to highlight those. Let's try to elevate those. But Body and Soul is a fantastic tune. I mean, the lyrics are great. It's great without. That's how you can really tell when it's great without the lyrics. Tremolo going. Not that much. Different tune, isn't it? Oh no, that's right. Okay, so unable to answer that question. All right, I'm catching up. Diminished scale, we did that. How do you approach playing pop rock tunes on keys when they're simple? Because in jazz, you usually want to be doing more technical stuff than the average pop band. Okay, so this is, you know, really kind of what we've been talking about. I think it's not that different. Pop two. Well, okay, so we're talking about 1 to 4 on the blues, but if you have like on I Wish, you know, a lot of repeated, stationary, at least this section. Okay, bad example, because then it goes to a lot of places. But if we just take that. So E flat minor, A flat 7. E flat minor 7, A flat 7. So we're looking at rhythm. What can we do with displacement? Not a lot of notes, not a lot of harmony changing. But then we do have one big change. So we got shell, E flat minor, shell, A flat 7. So if we go. big shift. D flat to C. When you have less difference between the chords, you have to highlight those differences. That kind of thing. Corkavata, thoughts on specifically soloing over the changes. Is that Corkavata? I think it is. I'm not sure if that's part of the Diminished, but I like doing that. Okay, so this tune is this. Somebody tell me in the chat if I'm not playing Corkavata. I think this is I always confuse Wave and Corkavata and Tristy. Yeah, this is Corkavata. Sorry. Okay. Well, anyway, this tune. Let's talk about whatever. This Joe Beam tune. Maybe you guys told me. Okay. So, is this the right key? I think so. On this, like the A minor 7, A minor 6, and maybe even shifting out of the flat 6. These are like kind of important and give you a good chance, you know. That is Corkavata. Thank you, Janet. What's up, Janet? And maybe even up to the major 7th. So I think the foundation is the minor 6. But you can shift around. And then this one, really important chord. You can add in a lot of stuff, but as its foundation, it's that E7 flat 9, but going in and out of it. You can add the sharp 9 or the flat 13. But I think being able to voice lead between that and the next chord, which is an A7 flat 13, is important. So you might want to be like, really highlighting that. And then sus, and you can shift up to that sharp 11, half diminished. So that's what I'm saying, like these little subtle inner movements. We're at D, sus, D sharp 11, and then the sharp 11 becomes a flat 5. So you got when the melody goes up to F, D half diminished, and then E7 flat 9 again, second half. That's always a good opportunity to give a little esoteric between the tritone, like E or B flat, down to the D. But the big unique thing with this tune is that right back to the A minor. There's no changes, it's about like this pattern. Again, we talked about all the places that can be, the A minor. But not. That's pretty, different. Like that's the foundation. Remember that pattern with the diminished we talked about? Half diminished. A lot of people play minor, but I'm pretty sure it's half diminished. To the E, sharp, flat 9, and then to the second half. That's a beautiful tune, of course. Yes, Clint, I understand. So you focus on expanding on what the tune gives you, like you said. Yeah, I mean that's the place. That's the place to start, you know what I'm saying? Rimi's asking, with Enclosures, I've noticed a consistent pattern when it precedes an ascending broken chord. Is there a generally different approach to Enclosures preceding descending lines?
Can you click your mouse a couple times?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Boom. Okay, so Enclosures. So this is an area that I've always struggled with really explaining. Adam is like a lot better at this because, I mean, I play them a lot, but I was very, I had kind of an incoherent understanding of them as I developed them. I just kind of started playing them. But I would say, so I think by lines ascending or descending, it's talking about like this would be an ascending line, right? So what is, well, let's just look at the enclosure before the beginning of the line. So 2-5-1 to C major. So we're going enclosure. Now let's go. Right? So that's ascending. Let's take one going down. Okay. So it's really no different, I don't think. Right? You know, your main choices are really about how much of an enclosure and what the rhythm is. So if you got right. That's what I'm gonna do from now. I'm just gonna answer questions by playing a bunch of examples. Cool, but yeah, I like I say, I don't really have a super thorough theoretical understanding of that to know like if it's more commonly done one way going up and down. To be just being honest. I have a question, Deniz. I have a question about sticky melodies. Some of them are spinning in my head for days. How to keep quiet in your head between practices? Don't. Sticky melodies are great melodies. You know, I always kind of judge, like when I hear a new composition or a new track on the radio, or I'm exposed to something, maybe I've heard it before, maybe it's not new, but it's like, what am I singing? What resonates after the performance, after the set, after I listen to the whole album, after I listen to the track, after I listen to a solo? That's especially hard. But if you can play a solo where there's a melody or a melodic concept that you develop that sticks with the listener, to me, that's a job well done. You don't have to do that every time, But that's a pretty high level of melodic development, I think. So when it does stick with you, I don't know. I don't think that it's a problem. Maybe you're worried that you're going to be like, now you're going to be, that's going to stick in your head. But maybe you're worried that, you're going to play that melody. So you go hear Beyonce and you hear this strong melody and you're like, oh, I don't want that to be my playing. Let it become a part of your playing. That's kind of the fun part about music, taking things from different situations. But I think that it's never a problem, sticky melodies. Sticky melodies equals good melodies, usually. All right. I'm going to grab one more question. I'm sorry I missed some, I realize. But that's why we're going to come back and do this again. All right, Janet, I'm going to end on yours, okay, because we're coming up on the hour. Thank you guys, first of all, for being here. I'm Peter Martin. This is You'll Hear It Live. We are here every Monday. It's usually Adam Manis and myself here at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just listening to music, talking about music. We're doing a Q&A today, of course. Hanging out here at the You'll Hear It channel. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. If you think that we brought you a little bit of value, subscribe, because this is kind of how we do it all the time. Quality level is variable, but we start from good and go all the way up to great, depending on our energy level and how inspired we are. But we always try to bring it. Okay, Janet asked about transcription. At OS Transcription Club tonight, we discussed taking a phrase from a transcription and using it over other tunes. How does that look in practice? Well, I think it can look like... So that famous first phrase, whenever I hear transcription, I just think Wynton Kelly, Freddie Freeloader for some reason. It's just like, because it was one of my first solos I learned. Actually, you know what? Let me take something else, because I'm always bringing that one up. Well, no, let me do that one, because I think a lot more people know this. So if you want to take that phrase and apply it to different situations, and notice, like, you may look at this as two phrases. But I kind of feel like, I mean, this is not like a right or wrong answer, but I kind of feel like that's one phrase, both parts to it. Because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, like that's one complete musical idea. You could say, yeah, it's a question and it's an answer and it's two separate phrases. And it doesn't really matter either way, but that's kind of the way I hear it. Even when there's silence, doesn't mean a phrase has stopped. You can't, it's just like when you're speaking. I might say, hey, I've got something important that I want to tell you. That wasn't phrased great. But you know, that was one sentence, even though I had a break in it. So it's the same thing with music. And a lot of that has to do with the syncopation, where this very simple but swinging melody lies within the beat, within the groove, within the just one chord. So if we look at that as one phrase. So taking the phrase and using it over other tunes, how does that look like in practice? So what I think is good on this would certainly be, the simplest place to take that would just be to another blues. It's another tune, but another blues like a different key. So then you're doing it there. Like over the 4 chord too, like over an E flat blues. And then we could think about like, how could we apply this in like, so strict that you only play that, but that can kind of be, you know, an entry point. Take a phrase that you really like. And for this kind of practice, I would recommend just kind of jumping right in, like not worrying too much about like, wait, am I playing the exact right thing? Am I going to mess up? Really being a place to sort of play by ear without thinking theoretically in terms of like transposition, you know? So it's like, you know, just seeing how much of it you can get right, even if you take it to another key, you know, from a solo that you know. Because then you're hearing those melodic relationships outside of just what's comfortable. You know what I'm saying? It's like, A blues doesn't get any, well, it does get less comfortable. Let's try E. Now, did you notice that? The last two keys, I screwed that last phrase up. I did that. I went up to the third, so I want to try to hear that interval. If I'd sung along and heard it like the original, your singing ears usually will be a little better than your playing ears. So that's a good way to work on your ear training and to take what we've learned from transcribing something and really to apply it and to sort of decouple it from the original place. Okay, thank you guys for being here for this little celebration at the Vintage Vibe. My name's Peter Martin. I'm going to see you guys next week. Have a great week. Are we doing something else? We'll be going live again. Make sure you subscribe so you know what's happening here. All right, peace.